Ravi was only 6 years old when his mother died. He did not understand death, but he understood absence. The house that once smelled of warm bread and gentle laughter became silent. His father tried to be strong, but grief made him distant. A year later, a new woman entered Ravi's life. Her name was Meera, and from that day, Ravi learned the meaning of being unwanted. Meera was not cruel in loud ways. She never shouted in front of others, never raised her hand where people could see. Her cruelty lived in small, sharp moments. She would forget to call Ravi for meals and then blame him for being careless. She would give him old clothes while buying new ones for her own son, Aman. When Ravi tried to sit near her, she would move away slightly, as if his presence annoyed her. Ravi noticed everything, even when he pretended not to. He watched how Meera smiled at Aman, how she brushed his hair gently and kissed his forehead. Ravi remembered his own mother doing the same, and those memories hurt more than Meera's coldness. At night, Ravi cried quietly into his pillow so no one would hear him. School was Ravi's only escape. He loved reading and dreamed of becoming a teacher one day. But even there, his life was not easy. Meera often told his father that Ravi was lazy and useless. Slowly, his father began to believe her words. He stopped asking Ravi about school and only scolded him when Meera complained. One winter morning, Ravi woke up late. Meera was already angry. She told him to leave without breakfast, saying he did not deserve it. Ravi walked to school with an empty stomach and heavy heart. During class, he fainted. When the teacher called home, Meera acted worried and loving on the phone. But when Ravi returned, she blamed him for embarrassing her. Years passed, and Ravi grew into a quiet teenager. He learned to stay invisible at home. He washed dishes, cleaned rooms, and completed his homework without making noise. Meera still found reasons to be unhappy with him. Nothing Ravi did was ever enough. One evening, Ravi came home excited. He had won a school competition and received a small certificate. He showed it to his father with hope in his eyes. Meera glanced at it and laughed softly, saying such achievements meant nothing. His father nodded silently. Ravi folded the certificate carefully and hid it in his book. That night, something inside him broke. Despite everything, Ravi never hated Meera. Instead, he wondered why she was the way she was. Sometimes, late at night, he heard her crying softly in her room. Those sounds confused him. How could someone who caused so much pain also be hurting inside? One day, Ravi fell seriously ill. High fever kept him in bed for days. His father was away for work. Meera had no choice but to care for him. As she sat beside his bed, Ravi whispered his mother's name in his sleep. Meera watched his weak face and noticed how thin he had become. She found an old photograph under Ravi's pillow. It was of Ravi with his real mother, both smiling. Meera felt something tighten in her chest. For the first time, she saw not a burden, but a lonely child who had lost everything. That night, Meera could not sleep. Memories from her own past returned. She remembered being ignored as a child, always compared to others, always feeling unwanted. She realized she had become the very person she once feared. In the morning, Meera cooked Ravi's favorite food. When he woke up, surprised, she fed him with her own hands. Ravi looked at her, unsure if this kindness was real. Meera's eyes filled with tears, but she said nothing. This was not the end of Ravi's pain, but it was the first crack in Meera's cold heart. Somewhere between guilt and regret, a slow change began. And Ravi, still fragile but hopeful, felt a warmth he had not felt in years. Meera stood near the window long after Ravi fell asleep. The rain outside matched the storm inside her heart. For the first time in many years, she questioned herself. She had always told herself that Ravi was not her responsibility, that loving him would somehow reduce the love meant for her own son. But watching Ravi struggle with illness and loneliness had awakened something she had buried deep inside. The next morning, Meera woke up early. She packed Ravi's school bag carefully, placing his books neatly instead of throwing them inside as she usually did. When Ravi came to the kitchen, he stopped at the door, confused. Meera greeted him softly and asked him to eat breakfast. Ravi sat quietly, expecting the kindness to disappear at any moment. But Meera remained calm and gentle. At school, Ravi felt different. He could not focus on his lessons because his mind kept returning to Meera's changed behavior. Part of him wanted to trust her, but years of pain had taught him to protect his heart. When he returned home, he found Meera waiting for him with a glass of water and a simple smile. That small gesture shook him more than her past cruelty ever had. Days turned into weeks, and Meera continued to change, slowly and carefully. She began asking Ravi about his schoolwork. She listened when he spoke, even when his voice trembled with hesitation. She no longer compared him to Aman. Instead, she started noticing his efforts, his discipline, and his quiet strength. One evening, Mira overheard Aman making fun of Ravi for being too serious and weak. Without thinking, she scolded Aman and told him to respect his brother. Ravi heard the conversation from another room. Tears rolled down his face, not from pain this time, but from disbelief. Mira's guilt grew heavier each day. She realized how deeply her actions had wounded Ravi. One night, she finally gathered the courage to speak. She called Ravi to sit beside her. Her hands trembled as she spoke. She told him about her own childhood, about how she had grown up feeling unloved and insecure. She admitted that her fear had turned into bitterness, and her bitterness into cruelty. Ravi listened silently. He did not interrupt her. When she finished, she looked at him with red eyes and asked for forgiveness. Ravi did not answer immediately. Years of hurt do not disappear in a moment. But he nodded slowly, not because the pain was gone, but because he saw truth in her tears. Their relationship did not become perfect overnight. There were awkward moments, silence, and memories that returned without warning. But there was also effort. Mira attended Ravi's school meetings. She helped him prepare for exams. She encouraged his dream of becoming a teacher. For the first time, Ravi felt seen. Ravi's father noticed the change as well. The house felt lighter. Conversations returned. Laughter slowly found its way back into the walls that had once absorbed so much sorrow. Mira apologized to her husband too, admitting how she had poisoned his mind against Ravi. Ashamed, he tried to rebuild his bond with his son. Years passed, and Ravi grew into a confident young man. He earned a scholarship and left home to study. On the day he left, Mira packed his suitcase with care. She slipped the old certificate he had once hidden inside his bag. Ravi smiled, understanding how far they had both come. After Ravi left, Mira often sat alone in his room. She realized that love was not a limited thing, that giving it did not mean losing it. She regretted the years she could never return, but she was grateful she had not lost Ravi forever. When Ravi returned during holidays, he hugged Mira without hesitation. That hug healed wounds no apology ever could. Mira's eyes filled with tears, not of regret. This time, but of peace. The woman who once created pain had finally learned compassion. And the child who once lived in silence had found his voice. Their story was not one of perfection, but of growth, forgiveness, and the quiet power of change.